Call to order the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Zoning Adjustment on Wednesday, November 3rd. We will start with a roll call vote.
Joe Goodner.
Here.
Ross Rollins. Amy Sorrells.
Here.
Kim White.
Here.
Ben Wilson. Here. John Huff.
Here.
Letitia Khalif.
Here.
All right, anyone have any comments on the minutes from last month?
Move to approve the minutes from September? Is that right?
October 6th.
October 6th.
Second?
Joe Goodner.
Yes.
Amy Sorrells.
Yes.
Kim White.
Yes.
Clint Wilson.
Yes.
John Huff.
Yes.
All right, I've got some opening remarks to make. Any persons aggrieved by any decision of the board may within 15 days after such decision appeal to the circuit court having jurisdiction according to section 908.02 of the zoning ordinance of the city of Auburn, Alabama. Does anyone have any old business? All right, moving on to new business. Variance to table 5-2, PL 2021-00709. Okay.
The applicant for this variance has requested to postpone in order to reconsider their design, which might impact the variances that they want to request.
Okay. I will make a motion to postpone PL 2021-00709 until our meeting on December 1st. Is that correct?
Yes.
Second.
Joe Goodner.
Yes.
Amy Sorrells.
Yes.
Kim White.
Yes.
Clint Wilson.
Yes.
John Huff.
Yes.
All right. Our next variance, PL 2021-00711.
I need to recuse myself from this one. I'll stick around for the approval meeting and deadline calendar.
Come get you. Thank you, Clint.
All right, y'all ready?
Yes.
All right. This request is for two variances to table 5-2 of the City of Auburn zoning ordinance. The first request is for a variance of approximately 6 feet to the minimum front setback of 30 feet to allow a front setback of approximately 24 feet. And the second request is going to be a variance of approximately 16 feet to the minimum rear setback of 35 feet to allow a rear setback of approximately 19 feet. And the subject property is located at 505 Auburn Drive in the Neighborhood Conservation Zoning District. It's NC 11. It's just over a quarter acre in size and is developed with a single-family home. Other than the multiple unit development immediately to the north of the subject property, the remaining adjoining properties are single-family. This property is a legally non-conforming lot of record. It does not have access to public right-of-way and takes access from a 10-foot private gravel drive in front of the home. It currently encroaches into the front and rear setbacks. The applicant is exploring options to redevelop the property, and the variances are sought in order to prepare for a tear-down and rebuild scenario. The variances would allow a new home to be constructed that matches the limits of encroachment of the existing structure. And this plan will show the existing encroachments into the front and rear setbacks. Again, approximately 6 feet into the front and approximately 16 feet into the rear. The next plan is going to show, it illustrates the construction footprint that would be possible within the required setbacks, and also taking into consideration the presence of a septic tank and field lines on the eastern side of the property. Then the next exhibit is going to depict the building footprint that is proposed if the variances are approved. The footprint has been expanded a bit to the west, but it does remain within the required side setback for NC 11. After all of that, while there are certain unique circumstances in place, staff does not feel that all the criteria required to approve a variance have been met, and for that reason, staff recommends denial of the requests. We did receive 6 letters in support of the requests, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. So, right now, you said it is, I've driven back there before, and it's non-conforming as the building is, and the lot's also too small?
The lot,
Or the lot's fine as far as minimum square footage, or,
it meets NC 12.
okay,
NC 12, yes. But it does not have public, does not front public right-of-way.
It meets NC 12, but it's zoned NC 11?
No, NC 11.
Oh, okay.
and so it has septic, I assume does not have access to sewer?
The access to sewer would be required if the home was torn down
Okay.
and rebuilt.
Okay.
What's the minimum lot size for NC 11?
11,000 square feet.
Okay. And you said this is a quarter?
0.26 acres, which is just over 11,000 square feet.
Right. And then what's the current setbacks in NC 11?
Front is going to be 30, the rear is 35, minimum side is 12, and the total side is 25.
And Amber, am I reading it right in your report under section D, that if they built within the allowable building area, even without removing the septic lines, they'd still have 1,900 square feet of buildable area?
That is correct.
On one floor, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So a pretty big house.
Yeah.
Any more questions for staff? Thank you, Amber. Is the applicant here?
Good
Hey.
afternoon. Wes Thrash with Foresight Group. I brought a flash drive with some, with a presentation on it that I wanted to kind of go through as I talked. So the first slide on that, if we could pull that up. By the way, thank you for presenting the project. The first slide is basically just a survey of the existing lot at 505 Auburn Drive. It shows the older house that faces to the south. In the front, you can see the 10-foot private drive to the south, or to the bottom of the sheet, the 10-foot gravel drive that it's facing now. The second and third slides show pictures of the older house. It's an existing house. It's an old rental house that's not well maintained. And then pictures, slides 4 and 5 basically show a picture of the house at 501 Auburn Drive, and then I've included a map of the location of that. It sits just to the west of that existing house and faces the cul-de-sac at Auburn Drive. The next slide shows a picture of the house at 509 Auburn Drive. It also faces Auburn Drive, and I've included a map on the next slide of that as well, showing its location to the subject property. Slides 8 and 9. Slide 8 shows a picture of the house at 507 Auburn Drive. That's actually to the west of the subject property. I've got a map on the next slide of that. So that just kind of gives you an idea of the existing houses in the area. They're nicer houses, well maintained. They're owner-occupied houses, whereas the subject house is a rental property that's not well maintained. The next slide shows the existing 10-foot gravel drive. So as you can see, the houses there front Auburn Drive, we're being told we have to take access off of this 10-foot gravel drive, which is not a public street, it's a private drive. The existing houses there use that as kind of a side street. So if we were allowed to face the public street, which is Auburn Drive, if we can go to the next slide, slide 11, no, we wouldn't be requesting a variance because that would allow a footprint. As you can see, if it were allowed to face the public drive to the west, Auburn Drive, the 30-foot setback would be on the west side, the 35-foot setback would be on the east side, and then you have the 12.5-foot setbacks both north and south. It allows a nicer footprint for rebuilding that lot out. So that was something that we were directed by staff, that we had to face towards the gravel drive. Again, both the houses to the west face to the west and face Auburn Drive, so that is one hardship is, you know, what dictates what the front of the lot is. You know, there is a gravel drive there, but it's just an access to, because that lot's landlocked, there's actually no frontage on a public street. So if we can go to the next slide. This shows the allowable building area outlined in blue, given the constraints that Amber mentioned with the building setbacks from the NC 11 and the existing septic system there. The red shows where the existing house encroaches beyond those setbacks to the north and south. Also, I want to note here that this was an existing lot of record prior to the NC 11 zoning, so we feel like zoning is part of the hardship as well for being able to rebuild this lot. You know, it's an older home, I believe. At one time, I heard it was built around the 1930s. I think in the report, maybe it said 1950s. It's an older house. And so it was there on a lot of record prior to the NC 11 zoning going into effect for this lot. Then if we go to the next slide, this shows the depth of the lot. Well, it doesn't show it, but just want to make a point here that the depth of this lot compared to the adjacent lots is a lot shallower. If we can look at another map later that shows the adjacent lots around it, but this is just really a small lot compared to the lots around it. But this shows the building setbacks, in addition to the septic system, reduce the area basically to an almost, we feel like an unusable area. The remaining area there will be equivalent to the size of a double wide mobile home. So that you see outlined in red and shaded in blue is a typical footprint of a double wide mobile home. I just pulled that offline, the 23-foot 4-inch by, I believe it's 52 footprint, and you can see it takes up most of that usable area there. If we can go to the next slide, please. This shows what the potential buyer envisions to build out there. So they want to do something to improve the existing area, a much nicer home than what's there, more of a wraparound porch, southern style home. This is not a plan. This is just what they're envisioning for the property. And then if we could go to the next slide. This slide shows where we're not asking for any additional. We're just asking to maintain the setbacks, or the encroachments to the north and south. Again, we would push that out to the west, like Amber mentioned, but we're pushing it towards the potential buyer's property, and we're not encroaching into that setback to the west. So it's just showing if we hold and maintain the existing encroachment, and then to the north, the existing encroachment to the south, and then we push out to the west, we can't really push out to the east because of the sanitary system there, septic system. So that shows kind of the footprint of what we're proposing there. And then the next slide shows a map of the adjacent property owners that have provided letters of support in green. The blue highlighted is the potential buyer's property. And so you can see that most of the adjacent property owners want to see something here that will improve the neighborhood and be more in conformance with what's currently there as far as the houses and, you know, something that's nicer and well maintained compared to the houses around it. So, and then I also included the final few slides. I think there's like 3 of those, just included the letters of support that we provided those to planning staff prior to the variance request. So I appreciate your time, and you know, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Just one question based off what Amber said. So
Yes.
assuming any redevelopment, that septic goes away, so you could build there, correct?
Potentially, yes. We're looking at options. We haven't nailed that down completely. There is gravity sanitary available to the east. We would have to obtain an easement from some adjacent property owners to tie into that. So that's not something that we can just go over and connect to. If we go back to the west towards Auburn Drive, we'd have to install a grinder pump and have a force main going back up to the manhole, the sanitary sewer at Auburn Drive. So we've explored those options, but we're still currently exploring those.
But Amber, you said that's a requirement if they redevelop this? So one of those would have to be done? Okay. So septic lines would go away?
Yeah, and if they do, that gives us a little bit more usable area, but again, you're providing a usable area that's very long and very narrow north to south. It's more of that mobile home style as opposed to something that they want to see there.
A ranch style?
Right.
Anyone have any more questions for the applicant?
My question.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right. I'll open the public hearing. If anyone would like to speak in support or against this variance, if you will come up, please sign in and then you can speak. Wes, to clarify, that 507, the house next door, that's the one that's for sale that was recently built?
Correct.
And they're here.
Hey, appreciate it. Let me bring this down. My name is Scott Ayers. I live in 515 Auburn Drive with my wife, and one of the pictorials that Wes showed we are adjacent to the property that's being proposed for the variance setbacks. And by the way, I don't understand setbacks. I know what the term variance means and all this other stuff, but a lot of it I'm not sure about and I get confused. But I do know that we've been there for 4 years. We've been fortunate, knock on wood, it has been a long-term rental property. And we now have a young man that's a sophomore in college. He's a great kid. He doesn't take care of the property. That's always been a concern of ours, that we could get somebody like that. We have a vested interest in the surrounding homes, of course. And now we have a couple that is at 501 that's willing to take it, renovate it, help the surrounding community and that neighborhood be a little bit better, if you will. So we're in favor of it. We appreciate the fact that the Wallers are willing to do it. It's not a small investment that they're willing to make, but overall, for that part of Auburn, for that part of downtown, it would definitely be an improvement. So, we're in favor of it. There are other houses here. I'm not sure if anybody else is going to speak, but 3 of the 4 property owners that are adjacent to that property that probably have, a vested interest in making sure that it's successful are represented here. So we're in full support of that, and I appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you, Scott.
Hello. Benjamin Boyd. We live at the property adjacent at 507. She said the house is currently for sale, and the existing home is occupied by a great guy. We like him a lot, but like I said, and you saw from the pictures, he does not maintain it. I'm in the pest control industry. I'm in protected care pest control, and I'm concerned with rodent issues and other pests becoming a problem. We've been trying to sell the house for a little while, and one of the concerns that we've heard from people that have been interested in purchasing the house is we just don't know about that place next door. And we're in full agreement with them on that. So we do want to support the change of variance. Betsy and Mike are willing to make the investment in the community, and I think it'd be very beneficial. And I mean, the current house is just not to the standards of our community. It's just not. And leaving it as it is, it's something's got to change. But that's what I got to say.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? We'll close the public hearing, open up to the board for discussion and/or a motion.
So, it's non-conforming, so what can they do to the current residence? Can they add on, or can they just redo what's inside said walls?
Section or Article 7 of the zoning ordinance does allow repairs, modifications, and interior alterations to existing non-conforming structures up to 50% of the property's fair market value.
Okay, so they cannot increase footprint.
Correct.
Okay. But they can build about a 1900 one-story square foot house.
It wouldn't have to be one story, it could be two-story, correct?
Well,
Yeah.
right, but I'm just saying the footprint
Oh,
would
the
be
footprint would be
1900 feet.
1900, yeah.
And then
I
when
may
you,
have said it wrong. And then they can go up whatever the height variant, whatever the height allows.
and when the septic is moved, it could be even bigger.
That would be approximately 2,700 square feet.
Brett, you said no to the 1900. What is, do you have a different
Well,
calc?
no, yeah, within the footprint she's talking about, yeah. It's just an odd shape, you know what I mean?
What do you mean odd shape?
It
Rectangle.
applies to get a floor plan in there.
Like a ranch?
Well, yeah, I mean, most of anything. I mean, most apartments are 35 foot deep, and this is 30, you know what I mean? So that's without a corridor, so it's really not functional to get much of anything in there.
I understand, but I don't necessarily agree.
Y'all made the argument, Brett or Wes, about the, what it actually fronts, whether it fronts Auburn Drive or not, but I assume how you would build it would front this private drive, correct?
I think there's options to look at it either way, so it could be built to front Auburn Drive. Again, the potential buyer owns the property adjacent to it that it would be fronting. I think you have an option, if you have a 30-foot setback on that side, that you could put the driveway, turn off of the gravel drive, and still front the house to the west, if that's an option.
I don't see how that, can you pull up the aerial of that? Like, I'm not seeing how that could front, how that house that's landlocked could front Auburn Drive.
It would look weird. You would be fronting, yeah, the back of a house.
So what is the address currently?
It's Auburn
505.
Drive.
It's Auburn Drive, so that, and that's how y'all do it, is where the front door is, correct? Okay.
In this case, it's a little bit unique because it does not front on on public right of way. So for addressing and public safety, that's why it's on Auburn Drive. It wouldn't be addressed off unnamed private drive.
Gravel
Oh,
I
road.
think they'd get lost. Yep.
This one's tricky. What's there now definitely needs to go away or to be substantially improved. But
Can you go back to give us a few street pictures of what's there right now? I know what this house looks like. Do you have the 507? Is there a picture that shows where it is or that building's footprint?
It's on slide 8 of that presentation.
So that's that house. How far is that away from? So
This is current.
that's current? Okay. Yeah, just one second. So I guess I'm trying to figure out these houses, because if you look at 501, it fronts Auburn Drive,
Clearly, like in the.
but it's very close. If you flip I mean, I see the argument. If you flip the setbacks, then it's very close. If it had those rear and front setbacks, but then you go to 507. So on 507, that's a 35-foot setback behind it? Or what street, does it front this same private drive?
And that doesn't look like it's 35 feet.
Yeah, that doesn't look like,
Did it get a variance?
507? Can y'all pull up and see if that got a variance? I don't recall that case.
It does appear that it doesn't meet the setbacks that we're talking about for the subject lot. Now,
And I'm just going
what
off
the
of
history is
a-
of that, I don't think staff has any information.
I'm
We'll
just
see what
going
we
off
can
of
find.
an aerial.
Is it my understanding too, the property has not changed hands yet? Like someone's willing to purchase this property? Like there's an offer to purchase, basically?
Yeah, 501, the owner of that, I think he bought it in the past few months.
He has already purchased it?
It has purchased 501. So the guy here to the left, whatever direction, I'm not good with the east-west, but this guy is
Waller?
wanting to buy this.
Yes, okay.
And
So
I
it has
assume
not, they have not.
build it and
bought
sell it,
Okay.
or keep it, but, and then 507 was built in last year, so, or 2 years. When did y'all build that?
2019.
2019.
We moved in early 2020.
509 was just built a month ago.
Okay,
We just moved in.
I remember seeing that one, yes, sir.
No variance was applied for on it. I don't.
But it would have. Can you go back to that aerial one more time, please? I mean, I think what they're, first I wasn't really on board with this, but I think what they're doing fits, those are all redone houses, and it's hard to find. I mean, it fronts the private drive, but you've got 501 fronts over there, and it's not, I don't think it's gonna be super out of place, and y'all did say it was unique with how it does front this private drive, and it's a much smaller lot.
You build a smaller house.
Yeah. And 507's front door is near where that arrow's pointing?
Yeah.
Also a door inside the carport.
Okay. Then go back to that aerial one more time.
I'll mention that the report says the applicant is considering available options. So like this isn't even decided yet, and I'm kind of wary of giving variances when we're not even sure it's needed yet.
Well, it might not be my place to say this, and something could have changed, but the way they explained it was the contract that they have with the current owner is a contingency contract of only giving variances to be able to do something to it. That could be what they mean by options.
I'm sorry, you wanted to come up and speak again if you want to.
You've closed the public hearing. If you want to open the public hearing back up
Yeah,
to
I'll-
take more comments. that
I
would
know
be
she
up
wanted
you.
to speak. I'll open the public hearing back for a minute if you want to come up and sign in and speak.
I'm Angela Boyd, 507 Auburn Drive. What I wanted to talk about was something y'all were that a lot of people spoke about, which was the septic and the sewage. The septic has been a major problem. We have had the issues with it because, as you see in the aerial view, and what y'all were showing how it comes, there's kind of a berm how it comes down, and then our lot naturally tiered down. When we went under construction of the house and built and cut into some property that, and we didn't even really cut in, just having that whole open lot and clearing what we did for our home, there was issues with the septic. That is a brand new septic system that the owner put in. It was the least expensive thing they could do, so that's why they did it. The reason they did that was because we complained every chance we got to the management company because sewage was seeping out of that hill into our property. So that's why they put a brand new septic system in. We had spoke to the owners that currently own the house about an easement that they could obtain from us to come in and tie into the sewage that we tied into when we built our home. But they would have to have part of our property to tie into the same line to go across to the right of way for the city sewage, which is behind, right on the other side of the creek, is where that sewage line is. According to Miss Betsy, she has some other options that she's looked at as well, but we did tell her, just as we told the other owner, that we would be open to that because of the bad situation of the septic. It's not gonna work forever. On days where we have continuous rain for days and days on end, you do still smell some things when you are outside, even though it has a brand new system. So that's another reason why we are in such agreement with this, for them to take the property and improve it and get it to the standards it needs to be, so that we don't smell sewage on our side. So that's exact, ours goes all the way down the hill and across the creek. So,
Thank you.
That was no small expense, I'm sure, to.
no,
tie
it's
into-
not. No,
That's,
it
I
was
think,
not.
what's this coming down to. This is a contingent offer to purchase this based on
Correct.
when they find out how much all that's gonna cost. But your house is for sale, but you're willing to
Yeah.
offer an easement, so you might wanna
We
go ahead
are,
and
but,
get that in writing right now.
yeah, well, and it could happen, but, nothing's happened yet. It's got
Yeah.
a big price tag on it. So, we could still be there next year. And that's another thing to consider. My husband and I have considered, we will not keep our house up for sale after our 6-month contract is up. I really foresee us being there. We built the house to be there until they take us out. But we'll have to endure the construction and have the most,
You'll have the most disruption for that, cause with that gravel
absolutely,
drive.
especially with our private drive.
Yeah,
But because of the state of the house that is currently there now, we would endure. Because it would definitely help our property value and all our houses around us and our neighbors, so. And
not
from
for
what
that,
I,
your house may have already sold for now too, honestly.
you never know, but yeah.
That's the realtor in me
I
saying
know, I
that,
get
but
it.
I'm just, I get it.
The other thing, and I don't know who said it, but that they might build to sell. To my knowledge, and I could be speaking for Miss Betsy and the Foresight Group can maybe say, I don't believe they're building this to sell. This is for when they are in Auburn, additional property for when they have additional guests at the house. So it is not something that they just want to turn around and sell, if that poses anything.
So who is Miss Betsy? It says the property owner is 303 Sanford Avenue LLC.
No. they're the ones that own 501,
I think they're the Wallers.
the Wallers.
I mean, it
is
says
it?
property owners, 303 Sanford Avenue LLC.
She's talking about who's looking to buy.
Current owner.
That's the current owner.
That's the
of
current owners
But who are you
of
talking about?
505.
Who are you talking about, Miss Betsy?
That's the one who wants to buy it. That's who owns 501.
He owns 501.
Okay,
Right here.
Your question is, where are the 303 people?
yeah, where are they?
They're not here.
They're
They just,
represented
West
by,
Thrash is speaking.
yeah,
on
they're
their behalf.
represented by
Okay.
Foresight.
So, any other questions? No.
Is there a way to table it and have them bring us back like a plan that would fit on this? Like instead of just a square outline?
Absolutely.
You can, yeah, you can, and
I don't wanna hold up the process, but, cause I feel like this would be, we would make the variance, subject to,
Normally, when we do this, they do bring in a plan, they bring in a footprint, they bring in and show us what they're talking about doing, as opposed to, well, we may do this, or we
Yeah.
may do that.
there's good arguments for both. This one's probably a little more exploratory versus,
yeah.
we're gonna go down the, and I understand, now we wanna see more, but I understand not wanting to spend
I mean, they. paid for a
however much you
survey
have to
and-
spend to get the plans and all that. I would have a hard time tabling it and asking them to do that if we have several members who are not super enthused about it, which I don't know how everybody's feeling, but
I tend to side with the adjacent property owners who would like to see the improvement, so I would be willing to approve the variance, but I may be the only one.
Can I make one comment?
yes, sir.
Carol and I live at 509. We just built a house. Retiring here. Very happy to be in Auburn, but one of the things I was reading that these variances I thought mainly were, or one of the reasons for the variances were to protect neighbors, people that are living next door, which is great. I like that, but all of us are adjacent. We have become real good friends with the Wallers, think the world of them, and what they're gonna do is gonna help me and Carol, gonna help Scott and Michelle, Ben and Angela. We're wanting to support this, that's why we're sitting here tonight. And I'm just an old dumb South Georgia boy, but, you know, that ought to be worth something. I realize you gotta have roads and you gotta have variances, but we also gotta use a little bit of common sense.
Well, I did look out and see all y'all, and normally we don't have this much in support. I assumed it was 6 or 8 angry neighbors, but I don't know what,
Because what's there is just not.
it is, yeah, it's been there a long time.
We
So-
heard everything from 1920s to 1930s. I know when they took the septic tank out this summer, it was a homemade one.
Oh, wow.
I guess my,
So to the property to the north, we haven't really talked about that. Like what, behind that, there's like townhouses?
it's an
Is-
apartment complex tucked
complex?
back in there,
They're
yeah.
not townhouses.
It's kinda odd.
They're apartments.
They're apartments, okay.
I guess a question, John, you may know more about this, but we said they can build 1,900 square feet, but 30 feet. Is that just super narrow?
You know, is it super narrow in New Orleans? I don't think so.
Yeah.
I mean, is it super narrow in Savannah, or Charleston, all these other places that have figured out?
Something
No.
different, yeah.
Super, you know, to all these 60, 70 ranch style houses that have been built?
And that's
No.
why, I guess that's the question is, what are those, how deep are those ranch houses?
So I think, I'm trying to remember the span of a floor truss, but I don't think it's 35 feet. I thought it was like 30 for an apartment complex, but I'd have to go back and and research that, but that's basically why apartments are a certain depth that they are, is because of the limitations of your structural.
I mean,
Follow up, or go ahead, Kim.
the front of the current house is 31.9.
But it's also, they said it's not conforming, it's already encroaching.
Brett or Wes, do you think y'all are basically asking for an extra 22 feet. Do you think I may be speaking out of line for the board, but do you think there's something in between that they could live with?
I think so. I think we were just trying to maintain the other setbacks.
I guess my question is, where'd these numbers come from? The existing?
That's how we kind of got the front and the back, and then we slid it up against their house, away from the Boyd's house. So,
Because of
the
that
house is-
septic.
Yeah, to really impact the person who's buying it more. And so, there's nothing magical about, probably more of the depth than anything. Because right now, the way that 30-foot on the existing that you can build is lengthwise. You know what I mean? If it was rotated 180 degrees, I agree with John, it would fit. 90 degrees, I'm sorry. 90 degrees, you know what I mean? It'd be more like a row house, and you could do it, but it's orientated the wrong way to kind of make it functional, because you still got to have a front door on that south side.
What do you think a reasonable,
But, to me, you could put a garage on one side, you put living kitchen in the middle, you could put a master, then you can go upstairs and have 2 or 3 bedrooms.
And that might be what they're gonna do without having a plan, we don't know.
Right.
what do you think a reasonable depth for that house is? Instead of, like, right now you got 30 feet and you're trying to go to 52 feet. You don't know?
No, I think we were showing, what were we showing, 52? 50.9. Yeah. 50 feet. I guess is your concern that the difference in the first floor footprint between 1,900 and 2,500? Or what was it, whatever that number, what was the number you said?
2,700.
2,700.
So, really, at the end of the day, I would,
A random follow-up question, Amber. If they, this would be weird, but if they're building it for themselves to have extra place for people there, if they bought this, added it to their lot, cut that line out, and then built it as a detached guest house, is that allowed?
I do believe that
Or I know that's changed recently.
accessory dwelling
You were
units
shaking your head,
are
Logan.
permitted in NC.
Yeah, they can do a guest house.
Up to 50%.
Is it 1,000?
It's up to 1,000.
1,000.
It can't be made for an income purpose.
Right.
Up to 1,000 square feet? Okay, so that would cap it there.
It would not be able to be rented out.
Yeah,
Or sold later, without selling the entire farm.
yeah. Yeah, that wouldn't, I just was wondering I know we'd seen some.
I
Like
think,
you said, it's kind of like with the chicken, we're trying to figure out what footprint we can get on there, and then go get an architect to try to conform something. The problem is the current setbacks, there's nothing that they could find that they felt comfortable they could fit on in the current setbacks, with it being, essentially a long rectangle. So, if the concern is the 2,700 square feet, I'd say, reduce it down to what you think we can, and we'll try and squeeze, try to get something to work if that's the concern, but there's not a magical footprint. The footprint that we got kind of matched the off-the-shelf plan that we showed of that ranch with a wraparound porch. They were trying to do something, that was the thought, was something that was gonna look similar to that.
Y'all more on board with a cut-down variance, or? Kim or John or Letitia?
Yeah, I mean, I'm inclined to approve it with just some conditions on it.
So what, I certainly don't remember, what's some other, I remember some other rear and front setbacks are a little bit less. What's something that's more typical in the newer neighborhoods?
The newer neighborhoods have similar front and rear, right?
I don't think 30 and 35, though?
They're,
No.
No.
no, they're less, but it's not as drastic. The sides cut down significantly. Those drop to 5, but your rear is closer
I'm talking
to,
about rear and
the
front.
rears are 20, 25.
In a performance subdivision, it's 20 front, 20 rear, and 5 on the sides.
Those are not permitted in neighborhood conservation.
Right, right. I mean, I would be inclined to leave their request for the front at 6 and cut the rear down to, instead of 16 feet, 10 feet or 8 feet, something.
Split it.
I mean,
I'd do at most 5 and 5,
they've done,
40 feet.
there's been a lot of improvement in that area, and I do like it. Not many people see it, but obviously these neighbors all have the septic situation. That's very weird to have.
I understand. But, I mean,
What about that front at, cut the front to 5 and cut the rear in half from 16 to 8?
Yeah, and that gives them some parameters to work with. I support that. Also, they're gonna, I mean, knowing if they're gonna tear down the structure or improve it more than that, that septic is gonna go away, which gives them a lot more buildable space.
Yeah, that's it.
and the sides are definitely staying where they are. We're gonna increase the sides.
No, sides are, yeah, they've got
Sides are fine.
room on the sides, yeah. John or Kim, y'all have any thoughts on those? Two. I'll give it a go. I'll make a motion to approve PL 202100711, the first request variance of 5 feet to the minimum front setback of 30 feet to allow a front setback of 20 feet, so modifying it from their request of 6 to 5.
Second.
Drew Goodner,
Yes?
Amy Sorrells,
Yes.
Kim White,
Yes.
John Huff,
Yes.
Letitia Cleave.
Yes.
I'm making a motion to approve PL 202100711, the second request of variance of 8 feet to the minimum rear setback of 35 feet to allow a rear setback of 27 feet, modified from their request of 16 to 8.
I'll second again.
Drew Goodner,
Yes.
Amy Sorrells,
Yes.
Kim White,
Yes.
John Huff,
Yes.
Letitia Cleave.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, go get Clint and we can do Clint's probably like, what are they gonna do?
It's like, did y'all leave with that?
I was gonna say, what's left?
That's it. We just have to approve our calendar.
Okay.
Clint, thank you for your service back there. You been reading?
Netflix.
Knocked out a whole episode. All right, on to other business. Approve the 2022 meeting and deadline calendar. Do we just make a motion to approve as presented?
Sure.
I will make a motion to approve the meeting and deadline calendar in our packet as presented.
Second.
One, I know we can change this later, but I just noticed that we have a meeting on July 6th. Do we just modify that later?
Want
Fourth
to
is on a Monday
make
and
that
that's on a
modification
Wednesday.
now,
Yeah, I
then?
know we've typically looked in the past and just kind of seen how it looks, so just leave it as is for now.
Or you can change it now.
I think we wait.
It's fine. All right. I think I made a, John, did you second? Did Amy
I
second?
did.
It's Kim second.
Drew
Yes.
Ross Rollins, excuse me, Amy Sorrells,
Yes.
Kim Kim White,
Yes.
Glenn Wilson,
Yes.
John Huff.
Yes.
All right, and then, I think that's it. I don't have any
Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Under other business, thank you.
Yes, sir.
We also have, last month, we passed out some, I think, training certificates. Might have had some in this group. I know we did at Planning Commission. Anyway, for this month, we do have one for Kim White. And so you did get a certificate for a recent course that you took at the University of North Alabama for basic zoning and subdivision regulations. So we have a certificate for you.
Oh, thank you.
Give that to
Congrats,
you.
Kim.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
All right.
Thank you.
I think that's it. I will close the meeting. You do.